on these laws and how can we...
Hello and welcome. I'm Kriti Mehta and you're watching the World Report on NewsX World. Let's start with a check of the top headlines. Ukraine's military strikes the Yefremov, a synthetic rubber plant in Russia's Tula region, and a storage facility for marine drones in Russian-occupied Crimea overnight. The Ukrainian military said that the Yefremov plant specializes in the production of components for plastic explosives and rocket solid fuel. A Turkish foreign ministry source says the Turkish foreign minister Hakan Fidan met with Hamas political bureau officials in Ankara to discuss the ceasefire in Gaza and advancing the agreement to its second phase. The European Union, France and Germany condemn US visa bans on European citizens combating online hate and disinformation, with Brussels saying it could respond swiftly and decisively against the unjustified measures. Australia's New South Wales passes sweeping new gun and anti-terror rules following the mass shooting on Bondi Beach, tightening firearm ownership, banning public display of terror symbols and strengthening police power to curb protests. Russia plans a nuclear power plant on the moon within a decade, plan to power joint Russian-Chinese research. Pentagon report highlights China's military ties with Pakistan and cautious thaw with India. A Pentagon report submitted to the US Congress indicated China's dual-track strategy with India, decreasing tension along the line of actual control while also strengthening military cooperation with Pakistan. US President Donald Trump's administration says will slap tariffs on Chinese semiconductors imports over Beijing's unreasonable pursuit of chip industry dominance, but would delay the action until June 2027. Sanofi to buy US vaccine company Dynavax Technologies for around $2.2 billion, a deal that will give it access to an improved hepatitis B vaccine. Alright viewers, let's start with some news coming in from South Asia. Now, days after Bangladeshi student leader Sharif Osman Hadi died from a gunshot wound to his head, his family has accused a faction within the Mohammed Yunus-led interim government of orchestrating his killing to disrupt the upcoming national election due in February. Osman Hadi, who was the spokesman of Inqilab Mancho, was shot at close range in Dhaka on December 12 and later airlifted to Singapore, where he died on December 18. His death sparked violent protests, with mobs attacking media houses and cultural institutions in the capital. Speaking at a protest in Shahbag, Hadi's brother Sharif Osman Hadi alleged the killing was politically motivated, claiming his brother wanted timely elections and refused to bow to foreign masters. He demanded a speedy trial, worrying that failure to deliver justice could destabilize the election environment. Inqilab Mancho leaders described the killing as a part of a broader conspiracy involving domestic and international forces and vowed to continue protests until justice is served. I now welcome retired Major General Dr. Rajan Kochar to join me in this discussion here. He's an international relations and defense expert and joins us from New Delhi. Thank you, Dr. Kochar, for taking time out to speak to us in this discussion. Now, these discussions have been going on for some time now since the killing of Osman Hadi. Do you really think that the upcoming election had to do with his killings? First, and my second question to you is, who are these foreign forces that the family is accusing of in meddling with and leading to his killing?
See, I think the situation in Bangladesh is quite tense right now, and every day there is a new development which we are seeing there. To try to analyze this entire situation, one will have to see that first important aspect is that Mohammed Yunus was not wanting to hold elections initially, and he was goaded by the Bangladesh army chief who met him a couple of months back, and only after that he has announced the elections, which are in the month of February. Normally, as a chief administrator, he should have held elections within 6 months of taking over his assignment. But he's almost dragged it on to almost 2 years or so, or less than 2 years. So the first aspect is that his intention was not very, very clear to hold elections. Uh, then he has banned the Awami League. So the elections, even if they are held in the month of February, they are not going to be a very democratic way of doing an election, because one a major aspect, almost 30% of the Bangladesh population voters voted for Awami League. So a large vote base is going to be you missed out deliberately. Second is there was
All right,
a
sorry to interrupt
national.
you there, Dr. Kocher. But there's no clarity whether the Awami League has really been banned, because when asked, Yunus had actually said that the activities of the Awami League have been banned. So there is really no clarity on whether the Awami League will be allowed to contest or not. Do you have any further update?
You see, we are getting into technicalities right now. If you ban the activities of the Awami League, if you don't allow them to take part in the election process, in the sense that they can't hold rallies, they can't hold election meetings. If you are going to put a ban on these things, then how do you expect them to list out their candidates, and how do you expect them to make their candidates talk to the voters? So, in case you are banning their activities, uh, suo moto, I can take it, and you can take a deduction out of it, that Awami League is not going to be part of the election process. So that is one aspect of it.
Okay.
Now, one of the candidates of the National Citizens Party has also been killed.
Yeah.
So that what is happening now is that a ground is being created by Mohammed Yunus to project Jamaat Islami as a viable alternative to form the next government, because BNP also is not that well organized as of now, and there is a strong possibility we are seeing this narrative of anti-India and anti इसको हसीना इसको narrative that India is uh, uh, hosting Hasina in our country, and therefore the anger has been directed against India. So that is one way of swaying the voters, because there is a lot of people who don't who were not appreciative in the way Sheikh Hasina handled those riots in which more than 1,400 people were killed. So the point I'm emerging is this statement of Hadi's brother is very, very relevant in this context. What I'm trying to tell you is that a ground is being created, because right now, in the month of February, if Awami League is not allowed to participate in the elections, if there'll be a sort of issue of these their participation, you will find that there will be a turmoil in Bangladesh. So a situation is being created now by Mohammed Yunus, and I actually go with the statement of Sharif Hadi, because there is a strong suspicion that all these riots have been done at the behest of Mohammed Yunus, and you know that who has brought Mohammed Yunus to Bangladesh. we all know that
Yeah.
which foreign power has placed Mohammed Yunus inside Bangladesh.
Hmm.
So that foreign power is also playing a larger hand to extend the regime of Mohammed Yunus for a longer time, because after elections uh, there may be a possibility of somebody else coming at the helm of affairs, and maybe BNP is not an alternative as far as that foreign power is concerned. So we are now seeing a situation, a very volatile situation in Bangladesh, where these riots also, if you look at these riots also, Mohammed Yunus has never directed his uh, police authorities as well as the army authorities to contain the riots. Those riots were allowed to do arson and looting and kill, people without any interference from the state security machinery. So that is also one disturbing aspect which substantiates the statement made by Hadi's brother right now, because none of the security agencies are getting into the act to contain the situation, as if they want this situation to escalate. So, in my ultimate analysis, I have a strong premonition that you are being made to scare those new parties like the National Citizen Party by killing one of their leaders from participating in the elections. Second aspect is that Hadi was a very strong independent candidate, and he was no friend of Mohammed Yunus. So he was basically anti Sheikh Hasina, and he was the one who had orchestrated this entire youth movement
Yeah.
when
Last time.
Sheikh Hasina had to flee the country. So he's being eliminated. You tell me, let us all try to analyze that who would benefit with the killing of Osman Hadi. So it becomes very, very clear that Jamaat is the major beneficiary of the killing of Osman Hadi, and that is why uh, we are hearing voices from Bangladesh saying that the elections may either be delayed or postponed indefinitely.
All right. Thank you for spelling that out for us, Dr. Kocher. Do stay on though. There's some news now coming in from Cambodia, which has taken a first step to de-escalate its ongoing conflict with Thailand by sending an official letter seeking a ceasefire under the GBC mechanism. The letter, dated December 22, comes on the 17th day of fighting that has claimed 23 Thai soldiers and 42 civilians. Thai authorities have welcomed the move but stressed that Cambodia must prove its sincerity by meeting three conditions: announcing the ceasefire publicly, halting all further use of force, and cooperating in landmine recovery. The two sides met this evening for about 30 minutes, with a follow-up session scheduled tomorrow at 9 a.m. when Cambodia is expected to bring its full negotiating team. And now I request Dr. Kocher to join me back in the discussion here. Dr. Kocher, what's your view of the three conditions that have been put forward by Thailand, particularly the landmine condition?
I think this is a step in the right direction, because the General Body Committee, or the mechanism, GBC mechanism as we call it, where the two foreign ministers have actually met, is laying down a certain kind of a framework. These landmines, are very, very easy to you lay down, but very, very difficult to extract these landmines, because exact location, and these mines have got characteristics of shifting over a period of time. So these mines, when you put them under the soil, or you under the earth, they tend to shift after a period of time. So to totally say that these landmines can be removed successfully, I would put a question mark on that. But definitely, why this landmines they wanted to be removed is because they don't want this conflict to again
Right.
start. Because moment you remove this thing, because why the landmines are put, it is basically a defense mechanism to stop the offensive of the other countries. So you have the landmines in front of your defenses. So we do it that in every operation, that whenever we have to start a war, the first action is that we lay down the landmine. So I think that's a valid
Okay.
argument, because we have seen this ceasefire has been very, very fragile. So for both countries to ensure that the ceasefire is not fragile, I think the landmine is important consideration. The second important consideration is that sanctity of the buffer zone,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there is a buffer zone which has been earmarked, or it has been enunciated on the ground. But this buffer zone has been violated a number of times. So I think this buffer zone also needs to be, the sanctity of the buffer zone is also important to be actually maintained, because that will ensure that there is a difference, or there is a distance between the two armies, and any small incident does not flare up into a larger incident. I think that is also one of the important scopers. And the last important aspect is de-induction of the forces and the de-escalation of the forces
Yeah.
from the present line of defenses. So that would also show the intention. You see, you may say that we will actually move, but a certain time frame has to be set now. Once those, you see, right now the foreign ministers have met. Now a high level delegation from both sides is going to meet, and they would need to thrash out all the three conditions, and give a timeline, because unless you give a timeline, it means that both the sides are not very serious to stop the conflict. So I think USA is also trying to mediate into this whole thing, and ASEAN countries are also involved in
Yeah, but
the.
Dr. Kucha, what I wanted to ask you was this. Of course, the ceasefire might be established after these three conditions are met. But what about the question of the border, which caused the conflict in the first place? Till that is not, till a border that's not agreed on, by both parties, that this conflict could, re-emerge.
You're absolutely right. You see, unless you remove that root of the problem, because the
Yeah.
problem has not been solved.
Yeah.
You have done only a ceasefire. Ceasefire is a temporary thing.
Hmm.
Maybe after a couple of months, you may again decide to start the hostilities. So
Yeah.
I think the larger question, as you rightly said, is to sit down and settle the demarcation of the border,
Yeah.
because it involves certain temples also, some places of worship also there,
Yeah.
uh, which are heritage sites, has been declared by the UNESCO and other things.
Hmm.
So I think the larger question, that if you are looking for a permanent peace in this area, if you are looking to a permanent end to hostilities, I think that the border demarcation issue needs to be resolved, and it has to be resolved with a great deal of intent, because somewhere you will have to give, and somewhere you will have to take. So it has to be a kind of a barter kind of a system, where both the countries uh, have a psychological this thing, feeling that they have been able to gain something from the border demarcation, because it's a it will have a political fallout also,
Yeah.
because both these countries have to justify to their people that they have not surrendered the sovereignty of their country, and not given the land to the other country. The same problem we are having in the Russian-Ukraine war also, the aspect of sovereignty, because there is a feeling among the Ukrainians that if we give anything to Russia in terms of territory, we'll be losing on our sovereignty and on our nationalism.
Yeah.
So I think that area is going to play in the minds of both Cambodia and Thailand. And in my assessment, I don't think it's going to be easy task.
Sure, that's of course a discussion for another time, but a welcome step regardless. And thank you very much, Dr. Kocher, for joining us in this discussion. And we move on now, viewers. Belgium has formally joined South Africa's case at the International Court of Justice, alleging that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. The Hague-based UN court said Belgium filed a declaration of intervention, adding to a growing list of countries backing the proceedings. South Africa brought the case in December 2023, arguing Israel's war in Gaza violates the 1948 Genocide Convention. Israel has rejected the allegations and criticized the case. Other states, including Brazil, Ireland, Spain, Mexico, and Turkey, have also joined. In January 2024, the ICJ issued provisional measures ordering Israel to take steps to prevent acts of genocide and allow unimpeded humanitarian aid. While legally binding, the court has no direct enforcement powers. The ICJ has also said Israel's presence in occupied Palestinian territory is unlawful and amounts to annexation. The United States and several allies continue to support Israel and have rejected South Africa's claims, even as international criticism grows. I now welcome Dan Perry, who's a world affairs analyst, to join us from Tel Aviv. Thank you, Dan, for joining me in this discussion. Dan, what do you think is in Belgium's interest to join South Africa and other nations in calling out Israel for genocide?
Well, a number of things. First of all, Belgium has its own calculations about what it wants its profile in the Middle East and on the Israel-Palestine conundrum to be. And, you know, of late, they have taken the side of the Palestinians. And they are among the countries that recognized the state of Palestine a few months ago, even though they did say they would delay taking formal steps until Hamas is officially not part of the Palestinian leadership, which it's supposed to not be under the Trump 20-point plan. This may be a little bit too technical, but I'm not sure that the current Belgium action necessarily means it supports the claim that there is genocide in Gaza or was genocide in Gaza. Belgium has stated that it wants to table an intervention, that it considers itself a party to the case, but has not stated specifically that it believes that Israel is either guilty or innocent. Now, I think in jumping ahead of ourselves, assuming that they do support South Africa's claim, that's probably not unrealistic, because otherwise they wouldn't have bothered. But that isn't yet what they've actually said. So they've kept their options open, which attaches to the grand debate about whether the Gaza war can be seen as a genocide. I've been following the evolution of genocide claims over the past many decades, and used to be when I was the editor of the Associated Press in Europe and Africa, in charge of coverage out of The Hague. And I can tell you that in my own view, not as a legal expert, but as someone who's covered the issue, the Genocide Convention would be tough to apply to a case where Israel's goals, obviously, were very specific: removing Hamas from Gaza as a threat to Israel, and regaining their hostages, as opposed to killing Palestinians. Palestinians were killed in the war, but that was not necessarily Israel's intention. Its intention was very specifically something else. And the minute those goals were achieved, or at least the return of the hostages were achieved, the war ended. So genocide does not mean many people died. Genocide means you're attempting to wipe out a people in whole or in part. And very few genocides actually have been recognized in history. Basically, we have the Holocaust, the Armenian genocide, and the Rwandan genocide. Some people believe Srebrenica was a genocide. Other massively destructive wars have not been classified as a genocide. So basically, I think claims that this is a genocide are largely political and not necessarily legal.
And then how do you see the US now reacting to Belgium joining other European nations in this call? Israel, Spain and Ireland also. especially after, Trump has already signaled how he is upset with the European Union over the Russia-Ukraine war. There have been, the transatlantic alliance is not going very well. And now Belgium also opposing, Israel's actions. How is the US going to react?
I think the U.S. will react badly against anyone accusing Israel of genocide. We already have the U.S. Taking various actions against the International Criminal Court, also in The Hague, because of its arrest warrants against Netanyahu and his former defense minister Gallant. The ICJ, the International Court of Justice, is, as I say, a largely political outfit whose rulings cannot be enforced without Security Council action. And the UN Security Council is a forum where the U.S. can be expected to veto any effort to enforce this decision by the ICJ, basically. So the grander scheme of things is that the U.S., of course, is currently in a position of general sneering at the European Union, indifference towards the transatlantic alliance, and full support for Israel's Netanyahu government. And so any possibility that any ruling by the ICJ would actually have teeth will likely be scuttled by the US.
Sure. Well, thank you for your opinion, Dan, but do stay on with me. As we move ahead, because Russia is setting its sights on the moon, planning a nuclear power plant to support its lunar program and a joint Russian-Chinese research station. Roscosmos, a Russia state space agency, says that the lunar plant is targeted for 2036 and will provide power for rovers, observatories, and the International Lunar Research Station. While not explicitly confirmed, the involvement of Rosatom and the Kurchatov Institute points to a nuclear reactor. The head of Roscosmos has added that this project represents a shift from one-time missions to long-term lunar exploration. Now, Russia is not alone. NASA has also announced plans to place a nuclear reactor on the moon by 2030, which points out the need for sustainable energy to support human activity and future Mars missions. Meanwhile, experts caution that this development could trigger a new lunar gold rush, as the moon is said to host significant reserves of helium-3 and rare earth metals, which are essential for building advanced technologies on Earth. And I now requested Dan to join me back and weigh in his opinion on this. Dan, how do you see the announcement coming in from Russia?
Well, largely it's an effort by Russia to show that they still matter in this regard. The economics of helium-3 and rare earth mineral extraction from the moon are yet to be proven, but there is a lot of cachet in these space programs. And of course, decades ago, the Soviet Union was at one point in the lead as regards the space program, and Russia, in an attempt to once again reestablish itself, suffered a quite humiliating setback a few years ago when its effort to land on the moon crashed. And they're trying to reestablish that. It may be that they're also attempting to gain first mover advantage on the south pole of the moon, which is seen as the most attractive part because it has more sunlight. It is an effort to lock itself into the Chinese-Russian lunar effort, which would amount to hitching their wagon to a country that is more likely to be successful in the future because China's basically growing and Russia's in a state of great stagnation. It also basically amounts to a distraction from Russia's calamitous war in Ukraine that has badly tarnished the brand of Russia. Russia is seen as basically a criminal enterprise by much of the planet, and this is an attempt to sort of remind people that Russia also has great potential in science and ambitions in the economy, and wants to be remembered and seen as something more than just a country that is committing war crimes in Ukraine.
All All right, for now, thank you very much, Dan, for speaking to us here at NewsX World. Unfortunately, viewers, that's all we have time for. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.